And we are back for part 2 of our Noir chat for the Kickstarter campaign of Noir is the New Black, brought to you by Fair Square Comics. We're resuming now. Let's see what MD Marie has to say.
Yes! I'm sorry.
It's also
go get and go out and protest what he said.
It also takes the studios. Also, it's going to take Marvel or DC or whoever is publishing these books with minority characters to give them the time to do it. It seems like a comic with a white character that doesn't sell well will last for years not selling well. With the same selling level book with a black or Hispanic or whatever character tends to die within a year.
Yeah,
that's like they're not giving good characters the talent or the money and time to grab hold, to take root. And that's how these characters become popular, because they have to get roots in and tell long enough stories for readers to find them, to enjoy their stories, know who they are, and invest their time and energy in them. And if you don't give me the time to invest in them, particularly new ones, like I've seen enough Cyborg stories.
Yeah.
I've seen enough fucking Luke Cage comics. I don't give a look, I like Black Panther.
Yeah.
I could use some other shit though, please. Thank you. Like, I can only read a Black Panther story so many times. Like, I don't need 5 Black Panther comics a month. Like, there's enough talent out there, if they are hired, to create a ton of black characters. Like, I would love to see like Marvel or some of the money, and like, cause like Feige has control of the Marvel universe now, the comic publisher also. Let him like create a milestone-esque movement of talented minorities of all groups: Hispanic, Latino, Asian, Black. Just create another fucking universe of characters like Milestone did with predominantly people of color. And let that shit ride for like 5-10 years, and you'd have a ton of stuff. They've got the money.
20.
They just need someone to like say, let's do this, let's invest in it. All the haters be damned, because it's social media, you'll have haters. Yeah. Oh no, social justice warriors. Oh no, forced diversity, blah blah blah. F those people. Some go fuck themselves. Just do it. But do they want that? Do they want that drama though? Do they want to fight that fight for us? The corporate overlords, maybe not. I don't know. Feige might be like.
And then it also circles back to what you're saying about community support.
Mm-hmm.
We also
to
tie it.
Yep. We gotta fucking read it. We gotta buy it, read it, consume it. Like I buy a lot of black action figures. Why? Because I want the diversity that they give me, but also I want the numbers to show. Oh, someone's buying these Finn figures from Star Wars. Someone's buying these Storm figures. We need to make more of those. Okay, cool. So I've got a bunch of black action figures sitting here for that reason alone.
And yet, a lot of those figures ultimately end up on the shelf at like a Five Below, or like a Dollar General.
Yep.
And that's really a shame too. I mean, anecdotally, when I was younger, summertime, we all went to go see Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and we got back, and everyone was hyped from the movie because it was fun for the time, and I was younger then, so everyone wanted to play Bill and Ted, right? That was the game we were going to play. And okay, and I'm like, I forgot what's his nuts name was. I don't care, some nobody that I'll never see again. But he was like, I'm gonna be Bill, and I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna be Ted. You can't be Ted. Ted's white. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I can be Rufus. No, you can't be him either. He's white. I'm like, all right. Well, I guess I'll just fuck off then, because I think the whole cast is white. Right. So, and
nobody could tell me I wasn't Wonder Woman.
Right, exactly.
So how many times did you spin in a circle, fall down, and skin your knee? How many times did that happen?
Oh my God, I can't even count. I tell people, and it's probably one of my favorite stories to tell. But when I was a kid, I was Wonder Woman. I had Wonder Woman underoos. I had a Wonder Woman belt. I had the tiara. I had bracelets. I got tied my shoestrings together. I had a lariat, and you couldn't tell me I didn't have an invisible jet. You could not tell me. I was Wonder Woman. And somebody tell me it was because I was black. I'd look at you like you had lost your mind. Like, what? I'm Wonder Woman. You have an issue.
Exactly. That's the way to do it, man. I was Buck Rogers. I was Han Solo. My friends be damned. I didn't care. Like, hell with Billy D. Williams. He didn't do shit in those movies. I care about Billy D. Williams. Right. I care about Lando. Yeah, I was Boba Fett sometimes. Like, and? Like,
what about you, Dave?
Be mad.
Yeah, man, like, it was, I mean, I never had to, I never, like, I always was dealing with, like, way different stuff. I was, like, reading, like, manga and stuff like that. So, like, a lot of my favorite characters were Japanese or, like, foxes or, like, you know, so I wasn't, like, connecting with that. But, like, I remember, for me, it had a lot more to do with, like, novels. Like, I read a lot of books as a kid. So this was, like, before comics, I was reading books. And I always thought all the characters were black characters. And then I would see the, like, I'd see a cover that had, like, a nice, like, illustrated cover. And it was, like, a white kid. I remember the one that, like, messed me up the most was Encyclopedia Brown. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, I remember Encyclopedia Brown.
So, Encyclopedia, like, in the same way that you thought you were Wonder Woman, I thought I was Encyclopedia Brown. And I thought he was a brown kid because his name was Encyclopedia Brown. So, like, it blew my mind when he suddenly became this, like, white kid. It like, sort of ruined my my perception of that. But, like,
I always admit.
You still what?
I always admit I was a very sequestered child. So even if I saw a picture of a white person, that did not, like, faze me at all. If I had it in my head that I was this person or this image or this character, seeing the actual character didn't register for me. So if I had seen Encyclopedia Brown, I'd have been like, oh, there's another Encyclopedia Brown. Look at us.
We should team up, yeah.
You know, and I tell people all the time, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, my parents never told me I was black. Like, nobody ever said to me, well, you're black. You know what I'm saying? And if they did, I don't even think it would register to me, like, what that was. You know, and maybe I was very blessed, but my dad always made sure that I saw strong female characters. You know, he went out and bought me the Wonder Woman and the Bionic Woman and Isis. And, you know, we watched Shaolin Theater, where there was a lot of, really savvy and smart female martial artists, right? So the color thing did not ever register to me. And if I saw Isis, right? Look at us. I'm Isis. She's Isis. You know, look, we're Isises. You know.
But would you not agree that if you could go back in time, it would have been even more impactful if you were watching, let's see, a black woman from the time. Let's just say you were watching Pam Grier on TV.
Foxy Brown.
But without the TNA and the black exploitation. Let's just say it was Pam Grier on TV in place of Linda Carter's Wonder Woman. And you got to watch her having very similar adventures, doing very similar things, fighting crime. You got to see a character on TV that actually looked like you. You know, to me, that's important. That is a very important thing.
I agree with you. I think that is an important thing, but I don't think that I missed anything because they weren't black. That's just my personal experience.
Well, no, I mean,
I don't think that I saw the color, so I don't think that, not seeing a strong black female when I was a kid really impacted me like that, because I had these other strong female characters. Now, when I got older and I started to, register my identity, that's when it became important. When I started to experience discrimination and racism, that's when it became important to me. But when I was a kid, like I said, I was very sequestered. So it was never a thing about color or race. It was just about, my dad wanted to make sure that I had exposure to strong female characters because he wanted me to be a strong female individual.
Okay.
Right? He didn't want me to see a difference between my gender and the male gender. He always told me I could do anything a guy could do, right? So that was my parents' focus for me. But as I got older and I started realizing that people were discriminating against me or they were disliking me because of the color of my skin, that's when representation became important to me.
And I completely understand that. I mean, when you're a certain age, life is just life,
Yeah.
And that's why I asked you earlier, and I asked you, Don, and I asked you, Dave, and you kind of hit upon that, where representation did start to become important for you. There was a point, we all have that one where you either hear the word or it's implied or someone looks at you a certain way and the differences between you and them become very apparent in that moment. Now, Dave, man, I'm sorry you had to deal with police brutality in the past. I mean, I've been there with you. It's happened to me. In fact, I almost lost 25 years of my life to it. Hey, why weren't you in class at this particular time? Well, I was doing attendance. Oh, okay, that's cool. Well, there was a fire in the auditorium. Oh, okay, well, that's cool. Good luck with that. Hey, you weren't in class, and we don't really know you, so why don't you put your hands behind your back? And, when I hear, the Freddie Gray rough ride, right? Well, I know exactly what that's like, and it's not fun. And before that, like you were saying, Emily Marie, like I experienced moments where I knew that there were differences, but it was easier to put it out of my head because it all boiled down to F those people. Because you never expect to be beat upon or thrown in a cell, and you never expect to face having your freedom taken away from you or even contemplate your life being taken away from you. And then when that happens, it changes everything.
Right.
So for me, like you said, representation. Superman with Christopher Reeve. I was Superman. I'm flying all over the place. Superman with George Reeve. I'm flying all over the place. Couldn't tell me nothing.
Right.
But there hit a point where I'm like, yeah, that's cool, man. Got power. I don't. You can blend in anywhere. I can't. Give me someone that I can get behind. Which is why, like you were saying earlier, Don, the independent circuit is some of the best places to find stories like that and characters like that. And chances are, because of so many writers, you're going to find someone that has a similar experience to you. You're going to find a character that might as well be you, and it makes it very easy to throw yourself into that story.
Yeah. I think, too, one of the problems with conventions, now, only speaking from California, I live in California, obviously, and I've only been so far as Arizona and Las Vegas for cons.
Okay.
But particularly the California scene, because of, I guess, San Diego is the template for all these small cons, and all they want, they're pop culture cons, not comic cons. And part of the problem, I think, we have as creators and getting that getting the black eyeballs on our stuff. Part of that is all the black folks walking through the show are not comic fans. There are a lot of anime fans. Mm-hmm. I don't do anime. My stuff does not look like anime at all. So I'm not getting I see a lot of black dudes, in particular, walking around with like stacks of prints of anime characters. So they're probably not my audience anyway. But I would hope they at least come look at my table. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So but
don't you wonder what anime fans are doing at a Comic-Con?
Well, there's always anime there though. Anime disc, anime comics, anime. The anime comics are there, and they're getting the art from other artists who are doing ripoffs of One Band Punch or whatever it's called. Or they're getting their fix of like Avatar artwork for guys who are bootlegging it because they can't afford the real stuff. You know what I mean? While they're buying their T-shirts and their DVDs or Blu-rays or whatever. they're manga fans, not comic fans.
Which
they're not Western comic fans.
They're on the rise. They are on the rise.
No, exactly. The manga's taking over a lot of the younger demographic. I'm seeing that a lot too.
Yeah, like Boku no Hero. Like Boku no Hero that took over. Man, Demon Slayer that's taken over. There are a lot of stories out there that are to a point self-contained. I mean they're spread out over multiple volumes, but there's a clear beginning, middle, and end. And people are processing stories differently than they did before. They don't need 125 issues. I'm looking at you, Dragon Ball. You're the exception to the rule, but you don't need 125 issues to tell a story. You can tell it in like 50 volumes and be done. You're going to leave fans wanting more. Maybe you come back for another arc at some point, but they're easy to digest. And what's the thing that they're also doing? A manga volume is a compilation about ye thick. It takes you maybe an hour or two to get through, and it's not spread across your living room, and you don't have to bag and board them. And because of that, I'm seeing not only a shift in that style, and I think people are getting smart. The trade paperbacks and graphic novels are also on the rise too, because people are starting to shy away from the individual weekly or bi-weekly distribution of comics in that fashion, and in turn are turning to digital to get that fix while waiting for that compilation. Hence why a book like what we're working on right now to me makes sense, because you read it all the way through, part of the way through, put it down, no mess. No, I missed issue 0, so I don't know what's happening in issue 1. It's all there.
Right.
Yeah, I could be happy if the floppies just go ahead and die and we can get rid of them already. Like I much prefer the method of dissemination that's been happening in Europe and South America and Japan and China. Like I think they've figured it out, right? Like if you want to do like the floppy idea, if you want to do some sort of serialized fiction, make anthologies. It's better. That's what Shonen Jump does. You get 350 pages. You do only get maybe 20, 30 pages at a time in terms of story content. So you are waiting, every other week or something like that for new content. But what you are getting is a massive, you get something worth your money, and it's, and if you want to go like the comic album way or like bande dessinée or something like that, you might have to wait a year to get your content. You might have to wait 5 or 6 months before you get a finished piece. But what you have is 200, 300 pages of your top quality work or whatever, and and that's what people are. It fits on bookshelves better. It looks better. Than having like we were sort of talking about, like with a bunch of floppies and books and. I'm sorry, not books, but boards and bags everywhere. It looks just like a regular.
It's embarrassing.
So I think if the American comic industry went trades only, the industry as we know it would die.
It's already dying.
Horrible. Not at all. We would see I think an increase in creativity and production, 100%. I think the floppy.
I totally disagree. The American comic fan is the comic industry is not as robust here, as far as readership, weekly, monthly, or otherwise, as Japan or Europe. It's taken more seriously in those countries. The average American still believes comics are throwaway merchandise.
But
the newsstands throwaway shit.
That's why it works in Europe. Is because it is throwaway. Because you can toss it in the bin after you're done, and it's like. But
it's also a more accepted and it's a more widely accepted entertainment. Where here it's not. Your average like Japan makes comics for grandmas and kids and adults and various interests. Where here, it's not taken that seriously. Grandmas here and grandpas and moms and dads aren't all reading comics. It's not something that is as readily available everywhere. You gotta go to a comic shop most of the time, or a bookstore to get this stuff. You know, I mean, but our society is very much throw away, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, but that has a lot more to do with like that's an American problem. That's a Western problem, isn't it?
Exactly. If the Western comic industry adopted their industry, it would die. It would be the shell of itself.
I disagree too.
I'm looking at it differently in the sense that because we've adopted this ideology, right? Mm-hmm. That is what is in turn is killing us. It's like if you decide to, I don't know, like eat sugar every day all the time, and that's all you eat, it'll eventually kill you. You know, it's like you can't like. You have to have diversity of nutrition, right? You have to have a diversity of different ways to sell that product and who you're marketing it to. What they've done is they've marketed themselves and pigeonholed themselves into superheroes, monthly floppies, licensed merchandising work, and that's it. So like people think it's the big two when it's thousands of creators. And they're beyond the big two. Like there's people who are creating outside of those like monthly limitations. And I mean, I'm working on stuff like that where we're totally disregarding that that way of selling and producing work because it's dead. It's already dead. Like so, producing like let's say a complete finished book, an original graphic novel. That is it's both more lucrative in terms of because you're producing more I guess in the sense of like printing more pages, you know, and shipping something with 300 pages is easier and cheaper to sell or to print than something with 22 pages. That's more expensive because it's it's to me it's or not to me it's like the math says it. Like they're not making like people who are making books right now are making a lot of money right now. It's just being spread across a lot of different ways of producing and disseminating that work. The monthly floppy itself is not doing well, but the largest selling comic book didn't come from the big two. It came from I think it came from like Pantheon or something like that, right? So it came from smaller, independent comic book album houses and publishing houses, like from books, like book publishers, not comic book publishers. Mm-hmm. With that, you're getting more leverage, right? Because it's like if HarperCollins like produced your book, right? Like not only do you have creative control and licensing rights over your IP and everything that you've done, right? You own your idea, you know. Like you're getting like, you know, your initial print runs are like 15,000, 20,000, 30,000, as opposed to Marvel, which you're looking at maybe 15,000. You're talking 5,000, right? 5,000. You're shipping 5,000. Maybe you're selling 2,000, right? Like for some of the smaller books outside of the flagship books. So to me, that's already dead. Move your ideas over to what the market's already doing. I mean, I have kids who are 16 and 15. You know what they read? They don't read comics. They read webtoon, right? They read a bunch of other like digital platforms, like ones I don't even know the names of, and I'm paying like subscriptions for my kids so that they can read. I'm talking like hundreds of comics. My kids have like, you know, subscriptions to like 70, 80 titles that they're reading concurrently. So the reading is there. The readership is there. Like, it's how you package that now, right?
Can I ask a question there?
Yeah.
I just want to ask you, so when your kids when you have these subscriptions, are they reading issues or are they reading full trades digitally?
No, they're reading.
I feel like you're making two different points. Like you're saying that we should go to trades.
No, they're not trades or single issues at all. They're web comics, which have it's a different format. So webtoon, you get what's called episodes, which roughly works out to be about a 10-page issue that you get per week.
Right. So it's more of an issue and less of a trade.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm, comparing a green apple to a red apple, right? Because I feel like you're making two different points. That you're saying that in print we should be producing trades, but in webtoons it's okay to write an issue.
Yes, correct. That's 100%. I don't see how they're against each other. Like one is
I feel like you're making counterpoints. Like you're saying we should produce trades in print, but then you're making an argument for issues in webtoons.
No, I think we should do all of the things. But I think if we're going to be doing print, like bound matter is what I would call it, like a book. Mm-hmm. It should be a trade. It should be an original graphic novel. It should be an anthology. Yeah. It should be something that's like square bound, not stapled, unless you're trying to like do floppies specifically for design choice. But make a book. I would say even avoid standard comic book sizing. Like to me, that's like as a creator, I hate it. I wish I could make like a square book, or really long books, or like but we're kind of limited to the limitations of publishing. Sort of determine how you can shape your book and how you can sort of tell a story, right? You don't have to do it in the standard comic book format that they've created for you. We can do more than that. We can do more than, see what I'm saying?
I want to jump in here, if I may. I understand what he's saying. I understand, but I'm with MD. Like, I'm not a big fan of the floppies anymore myself, but Webtoons episodes are digital floppies. The DC Universe app, when it first came out, the way you could read comics digitally, I mean, they were digitizing their floppies. And the DC Universe app for a time was doing pretty well, along with offering animated shows and a couple of old series, whatever. It was a nice package. I personally believe that the Japanese and like European approach is also the way to go. I think that the larger trades, like the Shonen Jump style, is a good vehicle to get the value out there and the story out there. Like if you have an event story, can you imagine how impactful for DC it would be if they had an event story where all of the pieces for that particular volume were in one place, instead of not grabbing like two key issues so you can follow along with everything that's happening in a story. Like for instance, you take hate to do it, but you take the reign of Superman back in the day, or the death of Superman back in the day. You had events that were happening in Martian Manhunter. You had events that were happening in Justice League International. You had events that were happening in Justice League of America. You had events that were happening in Superman. You had events that were happening in Man of Steel. Characters. Where's this guy? Where's that guy? Hey, look at that little box. Reference back to that comic. Go get that comic. Well, it'd be great if you're trying to tell a solid beginning, middle, and end. If I had all of those pieces together, much like he was mentioning Shonen Jump. You had Dragon Ball, you had JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you had Fist of the North Star, you had all of them in one spot. It was a variety book that you went through, you followed along, and you couldn't wait for that next issue. And you could either pitch them or keep them. I think that if we took that approach here...
But the idea of spreading those stories out from the main event story started off from a way to increase sales on those other books.
Right.
Like, it wasn't like someone said, let's put all in one book. They said, no, to hell with that idea. No, it was designed specifically to tell a larger story and make those other books sell better. I mean, ideally, like, the average trade is like 4 issues, right? In America, anyway. That's the bare minimum is like 4 issues usually. Now, if you combine the overhead of talent costs to create that one trade, like, the average Marvel DC book probably costs in that area of like $6,000 to $8,000 an issue. Mm-hmm. Times 4. That's your talent cost on one volume that now costs more than individual books, not combined obviously, but individual floppy. Look at that, a minimum $10, if not up to $20 for that one volume, and trying to sell those into, again, mostly the direct market and bookstores. Like, while you, the publisher, your profit margin is larger on a trade, you will now have people look at you like, wait, I have $20 now? And this book that comes out every 3 months? Because, the whole idea of Shonen Jump here would be ridiculously hard to do because the speed at which they do it, their style of artistry is different than ours as far as, like, the way they have, like, their setup, their studio setups. We got guys all over the country, all over the world drawing books for us. The logistics and the finances for like the big two, which are the comic industry as far as like sales go.
Well,
right?
I think you didn't let me finish.
It would be prohibitive for them to do that.
You didn't let me finish though, because I'm not 100% on board with doing a shonen style. I'm talking to the strength of what makes Shonen Jump what it is. However, I think that for the floppies, much like they made the attempt and they added value to a DC Universe app, and I forgot what Marvel's offering was called, and then you have, what is it, Comixology or whatever it is, things like that, especially with COVID. Who is going to the comic book store every Wednesday right now? In fact, comic book stores were closed because there were no books that were being made for a while. So, instead of that, what did DC do? And I think Marvel did the same. They started doing these select releases, these digital releases. And then I think they're going to compile all of their digital stories into a trade, which we will eventually get at some point, which I can have delivered. So why can we not invest the time? And if you want to do the individual serialized style of weekly, put your floppies online, give us the whole robust story in one volume. I'll pay the $20. It was working in the early 2000s. It should work now, especially the way that people are disseminating comics and actually reading, those who are reading, instead of investing money and you got to follow this book and that book and that book in order to understand what's going on. But those books are getting canceled, or the talent's walking away, and they're going to other places to create properties that speak to them. And what are those properties? Largely anthologies or graphic novels. So you take a loss there too. The market share speaks for itself. I mean, and people seem to care more about the movies nowadays than they do the comics. So if you gave me a large book, $20-$30 of a solid story that I can blow through on a Sunday afternoon, I would respect that a lot more, display that a lot more. And then I'm going to have to bag and board and make sure that every book is neatly organized and labeled so that, this could be worth something someday, or that could be worth something someday, or I don't want to bend that corner. And, I'm done with that. Like, at my age, I'm done. And a lot of people in the industry are done. And believe me, I know enough people in the comic book industry, store-wise. I know a lot of store owners. They, too, are tired because it seems like you see the passion for an event, midway through it dies, and then they're stuck with backstock that they have to give away on Free Comic Book Day. We need to change the way we handle comics. And for the most part, the indie scene seems to be doing it the right way.
But I think the indie scene has far less overhead involved. If Marvel and DC in particular, because those comic shops survive literally off of Marvel and DC mostly. Mm-hmm. So books don't sell great now. If you do it every other month, 3 months at $20 a pop, and a store has to buy a $20 book, trying to stock the entire lineup. If Marvel's going to put 100 books out, but do them all as trades, now retail has to buy these 100 books 2 months in advance, like usual, at a much higher cost than their floppies. What's going to happen is you're going to see them literally only buy Marvel and DC. The indie, even like the images and the IDWs are going to weigh the dodo because they're going to only stock what sells, not take chances on anything. The whole economic system of comic shops is fucking whack. It's not geared for comic shops to succeed at all.
They're going to die.
So that would have to change.
They're going to die.
It would have to a big 3 comic in 5 years. It's specifically because of what you're talking about. The problems of my favorite comics canceling in the middle of a run, like trades being like delayed for a year or however long, artists changing in the middle, like people renegotiating contracts or whatever it may be. Like, so I was just like, fuck it. Like, I'm not going to deal with these people anymore. I specifically buy, like, full stories, or I buy people like if I'm gonna buy it in like portions, it's gonna be from an indie creator that I know has to like I have to wait because like they're building in the same way that all the other Indian creators are creators are working. So, but I mean, I just wouldn't like. I do think the indie comic scene, whether it's like the black indie or the entirety of it, I think I don't think you would have to deal with a lot of the same problems that they deal with. I think they're trying to fit into a publishing industry that has already been created for them, right? Like I think indie creators are having to like sort of shove the square into the circular hole, right? And that square is like being an indie creator, and the hole or the circle is like the big two and their specific model of how we're supposed to sell a book, right? Like I don't think there is this big implosion or this impending death, other than trying to continue to maintain these things that are hurting us as creators. Like if you're like speaking as a person who's not doing superheroes, I'm not even trying to engage with the big two or what they're doing stylistically or anything like that, right? Like a lot of the people I'm working with, they've never even had a desire to work for the big two, so they're not concerned with whatever they're doing, right? So we have to figure out what is the rest of the industry doing. What are the people who are telling slice of life stories? Who are they looking for, and how do we like find a place for them? People who are doing, like biopics. People who are doing like weird surreal or psychedelic stuff that's not even like maybe doesn't even fit the standard format of what a comic is. They're just telling stories sequentially, in different ways. So, like, where do these types of stories fit? Because they'll never fit at the big two. Like, never. Not. You'll never see that, right? Maybe unless you're like a, Dave McKeown or something like that, right? Like, so like, I think we have to think about how the diversity of options and how many different types of creators there are, and
we're losing you, Dave.
How we can use it up.
Yeah, we
lost you for a second.
Yeah, we lost you.
Kind of went into a static mode. I don't disagree with you, but I think that's a creative perspective. Yeah, I think that's a creative perspective, because if you're talking marketing, which is what Dawn is talking, you have to consider how are you going to compete with the big two. You just telling a unique story is not going to be sufficient enough. You have to figure out how you're going to get your books into those stores and how you're going to get people to buy them. It's great that you're making different stories, but then, from the respect of how are you going to get your books to the public, you have to take into consideration everything that Dawn has said.
Yeah, the market's only so big as it is. Again, because of the American readership is not as rabid as other countries that you spoke of, which I totally understand. And because we haven't done a good enough job of getting the information, the comics, to the public in more ways than just what we've done, which is comic shops predominantly. You have to take that all into consideration. So the independent scene is even smaller than there's a comic market in general, which is in this country relegated toward the bigger two publishers, right? You have your Images and your Valiants and everything else. Trickles down to the rest of us. And, we have a hard time getting people to see our stuff for value as a thing. Whether we're on black, white, or otherwise, because I'm indie, it's hard to get my stuff seen as it is. Then for even us as indies to go only the trade route is cost prohibitive for a lot of us. I think I'm not disagreeing that trades are great, because they are. I will read certain publishers or certain books only at trades. More because I don't have the disposable income to throw at monthly books, because I publish stuff too, so my money's going there. Just like there's a diverse group of fans and likes in genre, there are definitely diverse ways of disseminating all that, whether it's floppies monthly, whether it's trades, whether it's webtoons, or digital, They're all great ways to get it done, but I don't think there could be a shift to one style only in this country that will succeed for everyone.
Now, Don, would you agree that, okay, if a book is facing cancellation, instead of outright canceling the book, would you then agree that maybe a digital distribution of that comic would be sufficient to keep that alive, at least to see if there's a new audience that they can gain from that format, over than, like I said, just flat out terminating a book?
Yeah, so that is definitely an option. But here's the problem too. I find with there are people who love digital, and there are people like myself. I'm straight up. I want physical copies of stuff. I don't want digital anything. I'll back a digital Kickstarter because I'm broke that month, and that's all I can afford. But I'll never read the digital copy. I'll buy a book at a con. Next time I see you, con the physical copy. But you have a segment of the population that looks at digital as, oh, well, okay, it's digital. I want it for like dirt cheap, right? But the overhead to produce a book, whether it's me or Marvel or anybody else, my overhead is still the same. I'm still printing books also. I can't give you. I choose not to give you my book for free online. Cost me money and time and energy. And once you give something away for free, it can be hard to ask them to pay for it later in a compilation. Not impossible. If it's successful, yeah. But I don't see like Marvel or DC or anybody who's publishing comics regularly going to a digital format unless it's like some kind of subscriber base, like a Netflix or something. But even then, like, I don't know how you would to put a value on. Marvel is 100 books. They do a subscription rate of like $20 a month. How's that money disseminate down to the other 100 books individually? You know what I mean? Like, if a book went digital, it'd stay there probably and never come back as a print book. Okay,
so let's take...
And how does Marvel and DC make money off of that? Or me, for that matter, make money off of a print book that makes it sustainable financially for me to do?
Okay, so again, let's take our book. We're all here working on this book together. I'm sweating away, making sure that it actually materializes, and I'll be curating, along with Fabrice. You guys are going to be creating a piece of this book. So you already have your story idea, I'm sure, in place, and we talked about that before we started recording. So that being said, take your story, imagine what similar stories would be like for this compilation anthology. Could a book like ours survive if we were not doing it in this format? I know going to the big two, the answer is like, yeah, they would never sign off on these stories individually, and they probably wouldn't sign off on an anthology like this. But just in the nature of how people are arriving at comics, be you old, new, whatever, could a book like ours truly be a vehicle to inspire either new artists, new writers, new pencilers, new inkers to create properties in a similar vein that could branch off into a new subgenre? I know this is a loaded question, but the main message is this a system? Is this book, is this something that you feel is built to win in this current market? And you can be honest.
Yeah, 100%. Like, have you heard of...
Sorry, go ahead. You hardly said anything, so go ahead.
There's a couple other sort of anthologies like this, I think, that are kind of built to help launch careers and to launch more ideas. And there's like Meat Space. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but like Meat Space was filled with like some of the biggest creators ever, like James Stokoe, like James Jean, David Cho, and these are like prolific, I would say creators that started in something small and similar to what we're doing, and they themselves, their careers have blossomed from there, and they've also been allowed to help create like more content, I guess. Sorry.
I think that this book in this day and age, in this format, would survive. Do I think it would survive digitally? No. I think that it would be, it would have to be, what am I trying to say? Like, if you made it digital, it would have to be for the purpose of turning it into something else, like a film or a TV show. But I think that if you put this book strictly digital, I think it would die on the vine, because people would read the stories and they would think one shot, and they would, their short memory span would forget it even exists. Whereas if you have an actual book and the book is sitting there in front of you and it's tangible, you have it to read over and over again. You have the stories to explore. You can take your time, right? But if I read one story out of a digital story and there's 50 in there, I might not want to go back and read the other ones. Oh, that was cool, and I move on, right? So.
Yeah, I think with it being physical, so can it survive without crowdfunding? Probably not. The amount of talent in this book is ridiculous, and I'm super stoked to be part of it. But if they were all chipping in for free, like straight up, capitalism be damned. There's all we're all doing this at our own pace, and with no intent of any monetary comeuppance, it probably would do one of them and never see another one come out. Because people could choose, their paid work or their regular gig or whatever first, then come back to do this later. I look at this book more as something cool that will inspire other people to either make comics or tell their own stories. I hope it gets, in general, black creators pumped up to do their own work, or maybe come back and join us for another volume of this. That'd be awesome. If we do this twice a year, that'd be great. I think it would need to be a twice a year or more thing to really catch on and become its own survival, to grow big enough to survive on its own, to get enough fans, enough creators to want to bring enough content into it that it could survive and could be published regularly. Because again, it's out of sight, out of mind business. The hard part with indies in general is we can only afford to do a floppy here or there, or a trade once a year, and people forget about us because they don't see us again.
Right.
I do floppies specifically because I can do them quicker. I can crowdfund them quicker and easier. And I'll eventually do a trade eventually, of course. But the longer I stay away from the fans' eyes, the quicker they forget about me. Yes, and we are competing with Marvel and DC and Image and Dark Horse and anybody with pool. We're competing with them. Price-wise, we're competing with them. We're competing with them for eyeballs, for talent. You're going to publish things regularly. You are competing with them, whether you want to or not. There are always only so many eyeballs and so much money floating around. Hey, remember, there's video games kicking our ass also, right? The film industry takes a piece of the entertainment dollar as well. So, and comics are the cheaper, I think, the most fun avenue of entertainment. But, live action is going to be key. And you can play a video game where you are Captain America, you are Black Panther. Well, that's kind of, I can see why it's going to be better than reading the exploits of him or her. You could be them as well. You know what I mean?
Well, we've come to that time when we got to prepare to say goodbye, everyone. In fact, that was about, half an hour ago, but I've been having such a good time talking to y'all. I would
this
love.
Has been a very stimulating conversation.
Yeah, I definitely want to do this again. And I'll talk to you guys when we're done about that. But for now, to close it out, what is one thing, and I'm going to go around starting ladies first, what is one thing that you want to see come out of this project, Noir is the New Black? If you can achieve anything, what would it be?
I would like to see a new generation of heroes for Black representation come out of this book. I want to see that people of color see themselves in these stories and in these heroes, and I would like to bolster confidence of anybody who's a reader and potentially becomes a fan. That would be the ultimate goal for me. I know that we are creating a strong Black female character, and I would love for someone to want to follow her, and I would love for her to be the next hero on the forefront, that young women can emulate and, follow as a hero and as a figure.
Okay. Dave?
I guess I kind of want this. I want this to be like our like Wu-Tang, and by that I mean like there's enough talent that's collected here, and like sort of Don was talking individually, like it would be very expensive to have all of that, and like we're all like amazing creators, but like if we could all come together and like Wu-Tang, they say is like form like Voltron,
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I want to happen. I want there to be like friendly competition. I want us to all like be making the greatest comics we can come up with, and whether that, and for me it's like I want that creativity to also then be connected to who we are, and as individuals, and like as Black humanity, like this is the best of the best, and these people that are going to be in this book are going to be like the forefront of what's going to be becoming next for publishing and creativity.
All right.
And just to piggyback on that real quick, I would like to see a Black Pantheon. I would love for that to come out of this too.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Let's we'll talk. Let's put a feather in that cap with that.
All right.
Yeah, I like that. Don, let's close this out. What you got for me?
Yeah, I hope this book. I hope everyone reads it, regardless of ethnicity. But my overall hope and dream is that Black fans read this and become Black creators. Can't have enough Black creators, enough people of color creating. The more we get of all walks of life, of all ethnicities, creating books, the better books we'll have. So we can inspire Black creators or their white or Latino or Asian friends even after reading it to make comics. Just that's what I want. I want to pass it all on. Like I said, I'm 47. I'm not old by any stretch of imagination, but one thing I try and do locally is I try and pass on knowledge I have and my love for this medium and help folks go from, like you, Chris, who like, oh, I want to do it, to actually doing it. Whether it's short stories, whether it's zines, whether it's online, just read this, see, oh, they did it. I can do it too. I'm here to tell them, oh, hell yeah, you can do this. It ain't that damn hard. Let me show you how.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, guys.
Or let us show you how.
Yeah. I
want to thank all of you for joining me tonight. It has been a pleasure. Actually, it's still sunny over there for y'all. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
I live in Alaska, so we have I have 18 hours of sunlight every day.
Oh, wow. So yeah, I'm extra jealous. But again, thank you for joining me. I think we should get together again just before the campaign comes to a close. Have another chat. Only this time, I don't care. We're bringing Fabrice in. I'm dragging him, kicking and screaming. I want to hear.
We have to.
Yeah, I want to hear him get hype because he's my partner. He's the other side of this coin. I couldn't do it without him. He couldn't do it without me. And all of us, like you said, we're going to form Voltron and make something cool.
Yeah.
But and I don't know who gets to be the head. We'll decide that later. We did it, everyone. We finally made it to gold. Thank you, everyone, for helping us reach this milestone. A lot of complaints about not having him on the cast. Well, Fabrice.
I'm here. Live and direct. or not, or approximately live and direct. Okay, I'm Fabrice Sapolsky, and TC Harris has done a great job emceeing this podcast. So yes, I am here. I am part of the team in Fair Square Comics, the company I created last year, and I welcome you and I encourage you to check us online at www.fairsquarecomics.com for all the updates, and of course on all the social networks in the universe.
Guys, we couldn't have made it here without you. We are very grateful. Thank you. And we couldn't have done this without a lot of hard work. We are thankful for everyone who is on with us for this project, all of our creators. Yes. And we're going to
28 of them.
Yeah, 28 of them. We're going to make some magic, folks. We're going to make some magic.
Oh, yeah. Now the real work begins.
It does. And for that, stay tuned for updates on fairsquarecomics.com, as well as Fair Square Comics on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
We'll catch up with you soon.
See you in February, folks.